This is an athletic brand. We can be cheery and fun. My name is McCCarthy, and I'm privileged to be the president and CEO of ASICS Americas. And today we're officially opening our Boston Creation Studio. I'd like to tell you a little bit about it first, and then I'll introduce you to my esteemed guests. We got the idea to move our creative people, meaning the people who create demand, known as marketers, people who create product, shoes and clothing for the average person, footwear and apparel if you're in the industry, put them in one environment and make sure that the environment was a place where it inspired collaboration and therefore heightens creation. So this space was designed with that in mind. We're a company that was founded in 1949 in Japan, in Kobe, Japan. Our founder, Mr. Onitsuka, was worried about the well-being of children in war-torn Japan. And he believed that if you moved, that if you exercised, that you were physically fit, it would help you, it would raise your spirits, it would also help you in school and other things. So many people don't know that ASICS is an acronym for a Latin phrase that loosely translated stands for of sound mind, of sound body. So this space is here to keep that embodiment in mind, and at the same time, for our visitors and guests, we hope you get the spirit of what our brand is about. We're really excited to be in Boston, particularly for me. There's a lot of heritage and history for the footwear industry in Boston. There's actually still some factories throughout New England that exist. So it was an artisan craft back in the day, and we're hoping that being here, that we're contributing to that craft and also honoring that craft. So I'd like to introduce you to our beautiful dais here. Look at this handsome and beautiful Olympian and a very, very handsome mayor.
No gold medals, though.
So first we have the mayor of Boston, Mr. Marty Walsh. Would you please welcome him? And on the end is a three-time Olympian who is also a former world champion, and she has the distinction of having competed in both the Summer and Winter Olympics. Summer track and field, winter in bobsled. She's a terrific ambassador for our brand. She's a good friend of ours, and I'm glad she's here today, Miss Lolo Jones. And sitting next to Lolo is a gold medalist from 2012 in London, a three-time world champion in wrestling. He is sitting a little away from the mayor because the mayor was taunting him on the way in, and he got a little scared. But please welcome Jordan Burroughs. So what I'd like to do, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to ask our guests a few questions and take it from here. So, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being here. And it was just almost 2 years ago that our team came to Boston, and we went to visit your team, and we received such a warm welcome. But I think what was really exciting is that there was so much about this transformation that's happening in Boston that we were unaware of. So known in the past for being a strong financial community, now it's become very innovative and colorful, and there's marketing and all kinds of other things. Can you please tell us a little bit more about what your vision is?
Yeah, first of all, thank you, and welcome to Boston. Thank you, Gene, and it's great to be on a stage with these great athletes, and thank you. And thank all of you for being here today. I got elected and sworn in as mayor in 2014, and one of the first things we looked at was how do we kind of change what's happening in Boston. Boston's a successful city, things were going great. We were really focused on the hospital industry and the biotech industry, and we focused on the insurance industry. We thought, to be a world-class city, we have to change our city. One of the first things we did was we created what's called the Office of Economic Development. We really didn't have it. We had economic development in different areas of the city, but we didn't have an office that focused on that. I don't know if John Walsh is here today from the chairman, or the head of the chief of that department, but we started looking at how do we attract new companies into Boston? How do we attract younger companies into Boston? How do we make sure that the population of Boston that's growing, the millennials, that we tie to the millennials? And part of that was being innovative. We started to measure things inside City Hall. We have what's called a data dashboard. We literally measure things from day to day in City Hall. Before it was measured kind of year to date, year to year, if you will. We started looking at the different industries that we wanted to bring to our city. When you met with our team, we had just, Converse was in the process of building their new headquarters. New Balance was making investments there. We started saying, okay, ASICS is thinking of coming. Let's reach out. Let's open up the doors. Let's make it welcoming. Right after you, when we began the conversation, Reebok called me one day and said, we want to move our headquarters from Canton to Boston. And I said, well, where do you want to go? We're not sure yet. We just want to move to Boston. So we felt that there was something going on in the ecosystem that we had to grab onto. And fast forward 4 years later, our city's grown 80,000 new jobs in our city in the last 4 years. We have world headquarters and United States headquarters moving to our city more than any time in the previous 30 years. We're becoming the shoe capital of the world, and Jenny's here as well, their headquarters. So we're becoming the shoe capital of the world. We start looking at the diversity of our businesses, and it's really kind of taken on a life of its own, which is about challenges, transportation challenges. I was just asked in the hallway by one of the media outlets about our public transportation system and about our transportation system. So we're making investments in transportation in the city of Boston. We're looking at bike lanes and walk lanes and pedestrian lanes and how do we connect our city more. We weren't really much of tourists walked our city, but Bostonians didn't walk. We took a car from A Street to B Street. We weren't in that mindset of like New York and places like that where you walk and take public transportation. So we're looking at those issues. We're looking at housing. We do a really good job in Boston building high-end housing. But what about that housing for the workforce of ASICS? Where are they going to live? If they want to live in certain parts of the city, you need 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 roommates. So we're really thinking about building more supply of housing on the market. And in the last 4 years, we've added 25,000 new units of housing on the market. So I like where we're going. And I think the important thing is don't be afraid to take a chance. Don't be afraid to look at something to see how it works. Kind of, I guess, assuming what's happening here with your test lab, it's like, yeah, some products will be successful and go on to be bestsellers, and some products just won't work. But if you don't try that, you're never going to get the product that goes on to sell crazy amounts of numbers of shoes.
Thank you. So what's interesting, too, we have, between 2 buildings here in Boston, we have about 175 employees, but in this building, we have about 50 people that these are new jobs that we brought to Boston, and it was great because the energy and the culture is now starting to craft itself. But from your perspective, let's say we are new, even though some of us are from New England, what advice would you have for us? How do we get situated? How can we make an impact on the community?
Well, I think get engaged. I think the one thing that we'll be talking to the company about is getting engaged in summer job programs, being involved in the different nonprofit organizations in Boston. Get tied into Boston. Don't just simply work here and live here and then go out at night and have nice dinners and enjoy yourself. What I'm saying is get connected to the culture of our city, because you can make a big difference in the culture of our city. Our commissioner just walked in, Billy Evans, police commissioner just walked in. He's done 53 marathons. He's worked with his police department on mentoring young people. He's not just a police commissioner. His officers and his department are engaged in the community, and that adds to the credibility, or adds to what the police department means in our city. Why I use him as an example is that the same thing can happen here. You don't know who's going to be. You can mentor somebody. You might come from Connecticut. You might come from New York. You might come from California. You might come from Oregon. Take your skills and mentor somebody, because what we want to do is put young people today on a path to success. And you have the stories, and tell your story. So I would say a couple things. Number one, get involved in the community. I think that's important. Get involved in our city, and don't be afraid to connect, because you have connections to City Hall through Gene and through your office about what you think is lacking in our city and how we can be more dynamic as a city. I mean, I'm really thrilled on what Boston has done in the last 4 years. I'm thrilled in seeing the growth in our city, but I also want to make sure that our city stays a city for everybody. We are one of the most diverse cities in the United States of America. Our strength is our diversity. We have 28% of our residents that live in the city are foreign born. 48% of the residents in our city are first generation, so we are an immigrant city. We're a city that we've approved $20 billion in new development in the last 4 years alone. There's a lot of development going on. There's a lot of good things. It's happening because of young people and people like you in this room. And you might think, well, I haven't done anything. I've been here working, I'm not connected. Not yet. You will be connected. So that's my advice to you.
That's great advice, and we're really grateful to be a part of this community, but we don't want to just be in it, we want to be of it. So you'll see that from us.
That's key. I mean, you see, when you're part of a community, and we have obviously a big race coming up in about 6 weeks, the marathon, which is a great weekend in Boston. It's incredible. Anyone who hasn't experienced that, go down to Boylston Street, walk around. It's one of the best weekends in our city. A lot of energy and excitement. But when the marathon is over, you're still here. So make that energy every single weekend in our city.
Okay, we will do, so thank you for that. If I can, I'd like to switch gears and move to our other two guests here. So, Jordan Burroughs, you're here with your family. Your wife Lauren is here somewhere. Your adorable kids are not here right now, but they were the big hit for the last 2 days. We started our day, though, today at an elementary school, Perkins Elementary, and we work closely, ASICS does, with a group called PHIT America. And what we believe in, and it's a personal passion for me, is that kids have to move. We do not have enough physical education classes in elementary and middle schools, and what we're doing is we're underserving our kids. So back to the premise of our brand, which is sound mind, sound body, we feel it's our job, it's our moral obligation to go and inspire this with kids. So we went to this school this morning, Jordan.
Yes, it was amazing.
And your kids, again, were the big hit amongst all these kids from kindergarten all the way up to, I believe, 5th grade.
Yes, sir.
Tell us about the event. Tell the audience about the event and what that meant to you.
Well, it's been an amazing event, and so the initiative for us is to get young kids, especially elementary age kids, active, right? And so I think we've implemented the morning mile, in 10 schools throughout the city of Boston. It was an amazing event this morning. Got an opportunity to run with a few of the kids, do a couple of laps around their school. And for us, it's really just about getting active. One of the reasons that my wife and I decided to have kids at a relatively young age was so that we could be the living embodiment of what it was like to work hard, to make sacrifices, and to stay fit, right? And so fortunately for me, as a wrestler, my job and my occupation banks on me working hard, right, and staying active and constantly moving. And so, yeah, it was cool to be that representation for a lot of the kids that we met this morning, and I think that the tangible piece of our journey by being Olympians and Olympic gold medalists really resonated with the young men and women that we met today, and they were excited. They were running laps around the school, and hopefully they'll stay involved and stay engaged.
Yeah, I know you had an impact on them, so thank you for that.
Thanks,
and my friend Lolo, who, if you know anything about Lolo Jones, is very involved in all types of community initiatives that can create an impact, and she's very passionate about those things. So for something like this today, Lolo, when you were out there with the kids, and how does this feel, and how much of an effect has it had on you, where sports and fitness have been so important in your life to get you what you are today?
Well, first I want to say it's great to be back in Boston. Boston's actually where I won my first USA national indoor title, which, propelled me on to become a three-time world champion. So I really love being back in Boston. And today, just working with the kids, for me, that's near and dear to my heart. So the way we partnered with them today is very similar to something I did as a kid. I was in elementary school, and we would take laps around our playground, and we would get like a little punch in the card, and then after a certain amount of punches, you would get a prize. Well, as a kid, you're like not even thinking about the fact that you're running. You're like, what prize am I gonna get? So that's these kids today. Like, you should have saw their energy and excitement as they went to the finish line to get their little stamp that they completed one lap. I mean, I'm talking about they would go from like just jogging, and then they would see the finish line, and it was like full on Olympic final, I am beating Usain Bolt. And I was like, oh my gosh, these kids are so fired up. And they don't even realize how many calories they're burning. So it was great. And for me, the impact that sports has had on my life is, I grew up in poverty. My dad was in and out of prison, and sports was the only solid thing I had going on in my life, and it just transformed me. And with ASICS having just the impact on the whole physical side, but also physical promotes sound mind. And that's what sports gave to me growing up. It gave me something that I could just rely on, an outlet to just, transform my life. And even when I'm done being an Olympic athlete and I'm no longer professional, traveling around the world, racing people, I'm still going to be physically fit or try to focus as much as I can, because I know the perks of being, going to get a good workout, and I know how much it promotes my mental health. And so I hope that that's what we showed the kids today, is the fact that they can have fun, getting a workout in, and it doesn't have to be tedious, and it also, there's so many benefits to it. So honestly, it was just a thrill today to be with them.
Thank you, and it was great to watch you guys. You guys are having more fun than the kids sometimes. So.
I was until they beat me to the finish line, and I was like, whoa, hey, I know you guys want this prize, but cut the cameras.
Well, thank you both, and certainly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'd like to recognize some members of your staff, if I may, that are here. The Chief of Economic Development was mentioned before, John Burroughs. Are you here, please? John Burroughs? He's not, but give him a round of applause. I'm sure his friends will tell him. And then the International Business Strategy Manager, Sarah DeLude. Can you raise your hand? Sarah. And the Director of Office Workforce Development, Trin Lin. That's right. Hi, Trin. Nice to meet you before. Nice to see you. Thank you. Also, I'd like to recognize a few other people. I'm going to take a quick second here to show you a little bit more about Boston. When we came here to look for a space, we didn't just get a large real estate company. I wanted another brand, if you will, that was of Boston. And I found this great company called T3 Advisors. And if there is such a thing as a boutique real estate brand, that's who they are. So what they did is they spent 2 days asking me and my team questions about who we are, not how much space we needed, who we are. And that helped us quite a bit, and it made choosing the space in the middle of a blizzard. It was a what do you call it when there's national emergency? Everything was closed, but somehow we got in this building to see the space. And then, Roy Hirschland, if you're here, could you raise your hand? He's a big-time Boston guy. And then the next process, which was also equally important, was, again, how does the space feel? Who's your architect? And interior architects are here in Boston. They've done a lot of great work around the city. They did the same thing. They got to know us. They wanted to understand the emotion we were trying to bring into the space. And when you look at the space, some of the design, for example, you'll see kind of the curvature of the walls. If you can envision a Japanese, the sand garden with a little rake. And when you look at the walls, you'll see the inspiration there. Or in Japan, it was very customary if your teacup were to break, that it would be put back together with a very gold-like epoxy cement, and then that became the character in the teacup, right? So the more cracks, the more stories. As you look on the floor, throughout the space, there's this gold epoxy line. So Ritika Vijay is here. Would you raise your hand, because you and your team are brilliant. Thank you very much for everything. So we were happy to work with Boston people. So with that, I want to thank you all again. Mr. Mayor, it's good to see you again. And the first time I met you, I didn't know if I damaged the relationship. I told you I was from the Bronx, New York. So you said he's got to be from somewhere. But still, I know who to root for when I'm in this town. So everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.